Hello, Penguin. I'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Hey, Neurosite. Doo-doo-doo. So today is the day. Today is finally the day. I am so ready. Okay, so I'm waiting for the tea to be ready. Should be just a couple more minutes. And then we're going to start. The day four? Today is the day. Today is the day. Well, today is the day where um, I open the Discord alternative to other contributors. So it was previously a private repository on GitHub, and I'm about to make it an open, publicly available repository on Codeberg. And a few days ago, I posted a doodle link in the Software Region of Discord to ask for when people had like availability to do a call to kind of like kick off uh, public contributions, and people gave availabilities, and today was the day that worked for uh, most of them. And so later today should be 3 hours and a half from now. We're no, yes, wait, no, more. It's 5 hours and a half from now. 5 hours and a half from now, we're gonna have a Google Meet call, and I'm gonna give a presentation explaining, what the goals for the project are. Because whenever you talk about like a chat application, different people will have um, uh, not people are not gonna be necessarily on the same page about everything that relates to the application. So um, so we need to make sure that if anybody wants to contribute, that then the overall project direction that we want to have matches what they care about or not. Like in case it does not, then they know that this is not the project for them to contribute to, and I don't know, they can focus their effort on something else. So that's going to be the goal of the meeting. Then I've prepared already some issues for people to work on, and yeah, this is it. So we'll see. This is actually my first time trying to make a project where I'm trying this hard to have other people contribute to it. Like my other open source projects, uh, the, the, with some I've done a better job than others in making them open for contributions. But I don't know. I've always started with the perspective of I'm gonna be the one working on this, and then if somebody for some reason wants to send a patch, I guess they can, and I'm not gonna put too much effort into making it easily for others to contribute. For this one, instead, I'm gonna be more deliberate in trying to make sure that there are areas open for contributions. That's the idea. So, okay, I'm gonna go get my team because it's ready, and then we're gonna start. I don't know what I'm gonna do today precisely yet. There are some things. I haven't looked at Zine or Super HTML in a while now, or Ziggy. Um, we could try to do some of these things. We could try to come up with more things to add to the list of issues that I've made for the Discord alternative. So try to make more things ready for contributions. There's a European Union thing that is interesting maybe to look at. You know what? Maybe we should look at the European Union thing today. Zine to 016. Yeah, about that. That is a good point, isn't it? I think I'll need to do that sooner than later. But I think I might want evented like green threads to also come online before attempting the move. I'm not sure, but yeah, this is 100% one thing that I need to do, no doubt. Yeah. Okay, so let me go get the tea. Okay, so let me pull up the European Union thing because I think it's kind of interesting. So, this is actually, I think, semi-serious stuff. What is the GUI library used for the D2 client? So, full disclosure, we plan to have two clients, a GUI one and a TUI one, so a 2E one. So, there will be a terminal client. The GUI client, I'm using DVUI. So, that's this. Which coincidentally, I need to ask David to update this bad boy to latest 0.16 because he has a branch for 0.16. But it's old 0.16. We need new 0.16. So DVUI is what I use. So online demo, that's kind of what it looks like. I don't know. That's the idea. Oh, if it's small, there is no thingy. If you make it big, there's a thingy. And there's an animation. It slides away when it's too small. That is funny. Huh. Huh. Anyway. So what is this European Union thing? Well, let's read. The European Union Digital Ecosystem Strategy will set out a strategic approach to the open source sector in the EU that addresses the importance of open source and crucial contribution to EU technological sovereignty. Oh no, I don't know how to pronounce this. Sovereignty, security, and competitiveness. Competitiveness. It's a decision operation framework. Okay, this thing is not particularly interesting to read. There was an LWN article on this, which I think has clear, like it's short and it has explains better what this thing is. So the European Commission issues a call for evidence on open source. The European Commission has opened a call for evidence to help shape its European open digital ecosystem strategy. The Commission is looking to reduce its dependence on software from non-EU countries. Wink, wink. The EU faces a significant problem of dependence on non-EU countries in the digital sphere. This reduces users' choice, hampers EU companies' competitiveness, and can raise supply chain security issues as it makes it difficult to control our digital infrastructure, both physical and software components, potentially creating vulnerabilities, including in critical sectors. In the last few years, it has been widely acknowledged that open source, which is a public good to be freely used, modified, and redistributed, has the strong potential to underpin a diverse portfolio of high quality and secure digital solutions that are valid alternatives to proprietary ones. By doing so, it increases user agency, helps regain control, and boosts the resilience of our digital infrastructure. The feedback period runs until midnight of February 3rd, 2026. The Commission seeks out input from all interested stakeholders, in particular, the European open source community, including individual contributors, open source companies and foundations, public administration, specialized business sectors, the ICT industry, academia, and research institutions. So here's how I understand it. There's a bunch of politicians that need to make decisions about this stuff. And so they are not experts about open source. And so they say, well, anybody out there doing open source, what's your take on this stuff? What would you want us to do for you? Now, unfortunately, here's my suspicion. Here's what I suspect is going to happen, or has already happened, because this thing is already open. My fear is that there will be a lot of truly horribly crap comments made by horribly clueless people. Also, guess what? Question for chat. In your opinion, what also, given the moment of history that we live in, what is also very possible that is happening right now in the feedback section? What do you think might be happening right now? I'm going to drink something in the meantime. Also, hello, Caritam. I don't remember if I said that already. Oh, this is also interesting. Yeah. So I'll paste the consultation strategy section, which I think is quite relevant. There's a PDF that has this information in it. This is just extracting the core questions that the European Union is asking. So more specifically, stakeholders are invited to reply to the following questions. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the EU open source sector? What are the main barriers that hamper adoption and maintenance of high quality and secure open source? And sustainable contributions to open source communities. What is the added value of open source for the public and private sectors? Please provide concrete examples, including the factors such as cost, risk, lock-in, security, innovation, among others, that are the most important to assess the added value. What concrete measures and actions may be taken at the EU level to support the development and growth of the EU open source sector and contribute to the EU's technological sovereignty and cybersecurity agenda? What technology areas should be prioritized and why? In what sectors could an increased use of open source lead to an increased competitiveness and cyber resilience? Cyber resilience. I mean, people asking for grant. Um, maybe, but here's my take. I suspect there's going to be an overwhelming amount of AI generated replies. Like, I would not be surprised if dumb as fuck companies copy paste, maybe not even this section. They copy paste like this section and ask ChatGPT to make to write a reply for them, and then they proudly paste it in the form. That is my guess. Okay, there's a bunch of replies. I don't think I want to read these replies here because there's already going to be a bajillion bad takes that we'll need to read. Well, but I'm going to read some of the replies. So, call for evidence, feedback open. Yoann Le Petit, France. I welcome this initiative from the European Union, which finally identifies open source no longer as a mere technical convenience, but as a strategic pillar for our sovereignty. In response to your call for evidence, I would like to confirm the relevance of the diagnosis made and propose concrete lines of action to transform this vision into an industrial reality. One, validation of diagnosis. Dependency is a systemic risk. The Commission's analysis is correct. The EU's dependence on non European technologies is not only an economic break, but a major security vulnerability. By leaving critical infrastructure, cloud, AI, cybersecurity, under the control of third party actors, we expose ourselves to risks of industrial espionage, unilateral service shutdown, and vendor lock in that stifle European innovation. The observation that the value generated by our developers is often captured by technology giants from outside Europe is particularly alarming and must be the central point of this new strategy. So far, not particularly good in my opinion. Like none of what I read up until now seems particularly useful. Open source as a vector of sovereignty. Free software is the only viable way to ensure transparency in software supply chains and control over our infrastructure. However, it's not enough for the code to be open. Governance and economic value must remain anchored in Europe. Sovereignty is not declassified, but it's built by code infrastructure. The initiative must therefore go beyond research and innovation and aim for industrialization. Eh, What? Okay. Proposals for an offensive strategy. For this initiative towards open source digital ecosystem to be effective, it must be accompanied by radical measures. Public procurement is a priority lever. I hope this is not the best reply that we're going to see. The barriers to entry mentioned in the document must be removed by simplified procedure for SMEs. I think these are like small, medium enterprises and free startups. Financing maintenance, not just innovation. Funds dedicated to the long term maintenance of digital commons, thus providing businesses. Um, Not great. Okay, so yeah, another French opinion. We are entering an era of empires and powers. In this context, it's essential to have sovereignty over the processing and exchange of our information. From a security point of view, we are often warned of digital hygiene conduct against pirate scammers, but we are led to work on software with closed codes operated by actors returning data to their country when where no data security is guaranteed. I do not understand why we should protect ourselves from certain actors in states or states and give all information to others free of charge. Okay, Czech Republic. Yes, in support of better EU approach to open source and developer support, open source is largest software asset globally and absolutely necessary for digital businesses, for individuals. Please support healthy digital society. Okay, so now we are back. These are the ones that we've already seen. More from France. Very short. As a newly graduated computer engineer, I consider it essential for Europe to adopt a strong and rapid position in favor of open source software. We must not leave the governance of our software services to establish nationals subject to the laws of countries such as the United States of America, especially now. Why do French posts get open source translated to Lopin? That's funny. By the way, so far these comments are kind of dumb. With all due respect to the outdoors, none of them is properly addressing the requests, in my opinion. Like, this is non-auctionable feedback. This is like a YouTube comment section almost. Let's see. But this is not even good politics. Like, this is shitty politics. This is like us sitting at a secret Hitler at a table playing secret Hitler, and then somebody asks the president, "Okay, which card did you draw?" And the guy starts telling you, "Look, it is of utmost importance that we play liberal cards because that is what we are all supposed to do." And it's like, no, dude, tell me which fucking cards did you draw from the deck? And should be, oh, I see. Translator eats the apostrophe. I see. To strengthen the European ecosystem, the EU should, colon, there we go. To the point. Let's see the, I'm expecting great advice after this column. Financial support for the maintenance of critical open source projects. So yeah, like, put more money in. Sure. Everybody's recommending put more money in. I'm no politician, but I suspect that any vaguely functioning human being that gets into politics after like 10 days figures out that money is the main lever they have. And so telling them to put more money in is like, they know that already. And they also know that what matters at that point, once you understand that what matters is like how you put the money in, because there's a variety of ways in which you can do that. So the question is not really, please put more money in. Like, they know this already, god damn it. Encouraging low source projects in public procurement. Developing sovereign European cloud infrastructure and strengthening training and recognition of open source skills. Priority areas should include cloud, AI, cybersecurity, operating systems, hardware, and collaborative tools. United Kingdom, wait a second. Get out of my feedback section. You cannot post here. God damn it. Get out. I've been involved in free and open source software for almost 10 years, short compared to some. Okay. But I fully support and I'm encouraged by investment and dedication to digital sovereignty and divesting from surveillance capitalistic technology and adding. What do you mean, dude? You're living in the wrong country for be arguing this stuff. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the people in the UK watching. Technology and adding to the free open source options for governments, organizations, and individuals. Financial, social investment inflows needs to come from multiple directions, though. Funding must be healthy and not just for new technology. Hello, Bipedal. I'm reading, there's a request for feedback from the European Union. You know what? I'm going to link this in chat. Also, if anybody goes to the EU thing and finds interesting feedback, like interesting replies, link them. You can link to individual ones. Like I can click here and open the individual feedback. So if you find anything good, especially good or especially bad, feel free to share. Let's read some more French takes. So, given the global geopolitical context and sovereignty challenges it entails, it would be very wise to use the know-how linked to the open source, but also the brains present in the EU. As a former developer, I'm not aware of any project that is not based on open source bricks, whether it is a framework, a log library, etc. That is a good point. I wouldn't phrase it this way for politicians. Like you're not really telling them anything. This is too jargony, but okay. The idea of creating internal EU tools, internal. We're talking about open source. So, well, anyway. We have been living for a number of years under the age of big data. Oh God. This reminds me of all the times where every single freaking paper started. We are in the era of big data due to the ever increasing size of data that needs to be analyzed, and like every single paper started like this. So now this person seems to be from that age, resulting in the mass collection of personal and sensitive data. It is also time where states hide spyware code in proprietary software used everywhere. I mean that I would be surprised if that is anything new. The open source is undeniable guarantee of transparency that every European citizen needs for his or her private life, but also for his or her own security. I'm an advanced user of Linux and a very large number of open source projects that today have a formidable maturity and efficiency. No advice, no actionable advice whatsoever. Let's see, Xavier Boito. For the security and independence of the European Union, it is urgent to use the open source. Signed, Xavier Boito, France. Thank you. By the way, I'm kind of being joking about these guys. I promise you, I will triple promise you, the moment we land on an Italian submission, it will be 10 times as dumb as these ones. At the very least. I can already smell it. I can already smell the stench of an horrible Italian reply deeper into deeper into this chasm of meaninglessness. Open source funding support help. Actually, wait, no, maybe there's Netherlands. Let's give a chance to the Netherlands people. Kosovo also. My main criticism here is that they are so good. Why not have I heard of them beforehand? And why are the EU national bodies not supporting these projects using them? Okay, so this is asking even more questions instead of answering them. The main barrier to open source adoption is any kind of regulation on how open source is created or consumed. Open source software is chiefly maintained by hobbyists who innovate in the space for free. Anything that slows them down in any way will kill the vibe. As a maintainer of a popular open source desktop application, it would really help if the EU could provide with some kind of funding for the development. It would, of course, be fine if funding comes with certain strings attached. SBOMs, maintenance pledge, security review, etc. I don't know. I mean, anything that slows them down will kill the vibe, and then security review. Oh, this seems okay. This might be a good reply. I see bullet points. Actually, does the other view give me a better imagination? No. Okay. Open source funding, support, and help is widely underdone and underestimated at the EU level. One, the largest open source projects are created, maintained by USA citizens. There are a lot of root causes for this, and to pick one, the connection between research, business, public, and private foundations are much more efficient than in the EU. EU grants are hard and complex to obtain. Two, open source projects are hosted mainly in the United States because of GitHub. That means the lack of EU sovereignty on a core value of IT, it's source code. See, for example, how Microsoft has created an AI agent copilot thanks to the hosted GitHub code, codeberg.org.de, or Framagit, are maintained mainly by benevolence. I guess that's like volunteers. EU citizen initiatives, even the more technical ones, are not supported by the EU. Well, but it's not like the US citizen initiatives that are supported by the US. This, by the federal government. See how DNS0.eu, a curated EU-based DNS service, has closed a few months ago. There is no EU strategy to build a democratic, transparent, secure IT system. We host an email service. We have tens of thousands of tens of attacks every day. We are buying lists of malicious IPs to abuse IPDB US based to proactively block those IPs. We had to build protection system by our own. It's like there was no rule of law for vehicles, and we had to bind some vehicles license plates lists to protect ourselves in the public space. Energy Star. So far, I have not found a single reply that would be even remotely valuable, in my opinion. I think I suspect that 99% of them will be trash. This is actually one of the better ones. This is at least somebody doing this kind of work. Cyberspace is a far west. The consequences are multiple. The cost is huge for you companies that are under multiple threats of bad actors or the net. Like, how do you expect the European Union to change this though? Like, oh, you don't even know the topic. This is the topic. Okay, so this person really has it out for abuse IPDB. Okay. Belgium. I'm an IT professional, developer, and entrepreneur since 45 plus years. In my opinion, EU countries' administrations should not rely on private non-EU techs, starting with the operating systems. Either on PC, smartphones, or even backend, there is almost no EU technologies behind. These actors offer a lot of services. It's easy, but they abuse from their dominant position by imposing their own rules, costs, and even their own development languages. Oh no, the horrible people. Not speaking about GDPR, never fully respected. It is, in my opinion, the basic weakness for EU tech since it implies fundamental dependencies which impact all IT levels. You should support a drastic strategic move and help countries to migrate to local techs ASAP. This is not good advice. I'm sorry, Ives. The initiative is very much appreciated. I believe it is important for the strategy, but there's no specific initiative. It's like they're asking for feedback on to decide what to do. I believe it is important for the strategy to connect aspects of civil participation, democratic values, and technical concepts like open source. The problem is companies, for example, in Germany, they have no incentive to support EU open source, for example, tax deductions. That would be certainly one of the things that I would mention. Like the first thing that I would mention in a reply, which I will probably write a reply, is that if we tried, like, we would not be able, I would not be able to make a Zig Software Foundation in Italy. I think that in Italy we don't have a non-profit, a way of creating a non-profit company for open source software. The whole thing doesn't exist. Actually, we had a very recent reshuffle of how all nonprofits work. I believe mostly it exists because our current government fucking hates ONGs. And so they basically are trying hard to fuck them over. That is my impression. I haven't looked too deeply into it, so I might be wrong. I don't know. But in any case, either way, none of what we had before and none of what we have now would allow me to set up a Zig Software Foundation. I would just straight up would not be able to do it. So, for example, do you want to have open source like there is in the United States? Step number one, in my opinion, would be, well, okay, is there a way for me to legally accept donations and do so in a tax-free manner? Since what I'm doing is, in any case, producing good that is used by everybody potentially. The answer is in Italy, no. In Germany, I don't know. In France, I don't know. Maybe you guys have some of that stuff. We certainly don't. And then here's the next problem. The next problem is that I am fairly sure that today I would not be able to do a donation to a non-Italian non-profit organization and have tax deductions. I believe that it only works within the same country. So I would argue that we should have in Europe this idea that you should be able to support, especially when it comes to software, right? I mean, this should not probably be limited to software, but for software especially, this is obviously something that benefits the whole of Europe at the very least. So you should be able to make a tax-free donation, a tax-deductible donation to another European non-profit, like software, open source non-profit at the very least. I don't think that that all this stuff should be supported directly with money by the government. Maybe they should have some. I don't know. Maybe they should probably have some tenders where they have, they offer free money to some people, but um, that is 100% not something that um that should definitely not be the main way in which open source projects, serious open source projects, get money. I don't think it makes any sense. Tax-free status is being supported with government money. I mean, technically, I guess you could look it that way somewhat, but my point is that it's different than having the open source project live entirely off of public tenders made by the government. So like every year, every 6 months, you have to apply to renew your tender, and they give you a little bit of money, and that's how you make your project, open source project, go. No, I don't think it should be this way. I think that the Zig model is not the only one, but one of the preferable ones, in my opinion, one of the most sustainable ones. It doesn't work for every open source project, but for big enough, serious, like important enough open source projects, it works. And my point is that, as far as I know, we would not be able to pull it off in Europe because we don't have the legal infrastructure to be able to do that. There is no way for us to get tax-free money. There is no way for most people donating to get I forget the name. It's not tax deduction. I think there's a better way for saying it, but I forget it. In any case, like a German company can't get that kind of stuff, as far as I know, if I were to open this company in Italy. Would the charge of Zig be tax exempt in Italy? It would probably. It probably would. Which, if you ask me, in a sense, means that basically means that Rust has an unfair competitive advantage to us in Italy. Dub. Yeah, tax exemption. No, well, no, it's not tax exemption. Well, the idea is that you made a donation, and so the amount of money that you donated gets taken away from the amount of money that your taxes are calculated on. Investing in the development of open source software and incentivizing its use in many environments as possible, including education, is essential to ensure Europe's independence and digital sovereignty. Oh, we have an Italian reply. Are you guys ready finally for some real, good, concrete, practical, actionable, effective, strategic, almost Machiavellian advice? I think it's time. These must be done. The EU needs to be independent and autonomous at multiple levels of digital technology. We need 1. A standard, open, and scalable operating system. Oh, a straight up operating system. Okay. A basic version of Linux that can be installed on servers, PCs, smartphones, and IoT devices. Like a distro? But we do have Europe. We do have Linux distros that are mainly maintained in Europe. Do we not? Why? I mean, honestly, I'm not really up to speed with who's running which distro, but there probably are. Not great advice so far. But you know what? I'm sure bullet point number 2 will be better. Number 2, a common European cybersecurity agency whose tasks include releasing security patches for the above operating system. Number 3, massive incentives to eliminate all non-European systems from critical infrastructure. Too many factories, power plants, banking infrastructure, etc. rely on Windows systems, even outdated ones. And we can no longer afford this. That is a claim that you would need to substantiate. Like, I hate claims like this because they're already probably wrong. But the fact that the fact that you think you drop in a claim and you're like this without anything attached to it, and you just, and it's like self-evidently true. Oh, Mandriva was European. I remember Mandriva. Yeah. Yeah, Mandriva was the newer name of Mandrake Linux, right? Okay, so so far not great. Number 4 will definitely save the day though. Incentivize the production of European network devices. We are dependent on foreign manufacturers such as Cisco and Huawei. Encourage, number 5, encourage, if not compel. Europe cannot compel anybody to do anything most of the time, dude. So the creation of European services. I'm talking about something similar to Google Suite, which should be standard and mandatory in schools. Oh, well, in Italy, many schools use Classroom as the de facto standard. We are raising our students to be consumers of Google services and raising previous generations to be Microsoft consumers. That point is actually fair. In schools in Italy, whenever they study, actually, I don't even know how to call it, like computers. It's like you learn how to use Office productivity tools. Um, the curriculum is based on Microsoft Office, so that is not a great idea. That should change. I would agree that should change. Still, is that critical? Does it have much to do with open source? Well, maybe somewhat, but anyway, I dream of a future where I will have a Nokia or Ericsson pocket phone in my pocket, running a Linux operating system that opens a desktop mode when connected to a monitor with a keyboard and a mouse that becomes my PC where all my data is stored. This should be our long-term goal. This motherfucker just wants his gizmo. Sure. Engage. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. I have to say one thing though. We're people of our generation, like people that have seen the Engage, etc. We are on track to become the new boomers. Please, people in chat, be careful because you have to actively resist uh boomerization, but otherwise you will boomerize if you don't like you need to really keep your core tight and like resist the temptation. You're gonna boomerize otherwise. Okay, so back to French suggestions. I think that behind this initiative there is the real need. Propose viable alternatives to I guess these are like the big tech companies and allow France to equip itself with sovereign tools. Wait, this French guy doesn't give a fuck about Europe. This French guy wants France sovereignty. Oh no. Europe has enormous potential in terms of techniques, largely at the level of external multinationals. As system and network administrator, and confronted every day in this prison in which we have been burdened. For both operating systems and software, we remain today at the mercy of the GAFAMs. We are witnessing price increases at the will of these companies, but also the resulting security failures that can only be expected from a patch. With open OSs and IOCs, we can regain control over our data, know-how, and ingenuity. By choosing open source OS and software, we will send a strong message to the biggest tech companies that will have no choice but to align to keep their market share in Europe. This will give the necessary impetus to all companies to develop compatible solutions between different AOS that exist. I don't know, man. Wait a second. I've already seen this one. Why am I seeing it again? This guy has pasted it like twice. Okay, Norway. Okay, we can. Okay, please, Norwegian people, don't let me down. I see bullet points, plenty of them. This actually seems good. Let's see. Knowledge and fear of ownership is in that open source solutions require system administrators that can ensure quality, security, and packaging of solutions. And this is a costly process that should have been done by the community in a way similar to the packaging of the various Linux distributions now sponsored by big companies. Programmers need payments, and good open source solutions are not free. Hence, there must be ways to support the development and maintenance of used tools and solutions beyond donations of time and money. Security and safety. One can inspect the code to see its behavior and also this is a university replying. Like this is not just one guy. This is like a straight up full university reply. Establish a technical agency to replicate what Red Hat, now IBM, and Canonical do for Linux. Validate, verify, package solutions, and make them available in trusted repositories. Organize competitions for paid contributions to overcome identified issues, so like hackathons, with a prize giving a proper profit for the winning programmers. Make dedicated call for tenders to develop broader functionality and integrations of features and applications needed. Not the greatest reply. The search continues. A European open source policy should not only encourage the use of open source software, but should fully recognize the notion of digital commons, resource, community governance. This gives it political, social, and economic strength beyond software lingerie. What? What? This approach is in line with the vision of many cooperatives and crisis resilient movements and social and solidarity economies which refuse to reduce the source open to code licenses without a structured community. Stefan, Europe must stand firm on digital sovereignty. For me, this has two parts. First, we must build a truly European and high-tech digital ecosystem. Second, we must apply rules and laws in a serious and consistent way across EU. So I think this person is suggesting that because of the AI stuff, because of the open source stuff, uh, we should have like a European federal government and have the United States of Europe. Uh, I mean, I would personally be in favor of that. I just don't think that it's the open source thing that should really be the motivator. So, Stefan, I don't think whatever you want to do is doable. But you know what? Personally, I feel like I'm craving more Italian replies. I feel like the real insight is in the Italian replies. The French replies, I don't know, man. With all due respect, they're eh. But the real spice is not here. The nine open source today is no longer technological neutrality. This is a strategic renunciation. How can French even speak English? Oh, I'll tell you. It's because they don't. It gets translated. So they actually do write French. Poland. There's a Terac 25 mentioned. What the heck? Wait, how did we get to Terac 25? During your research, you will find out open source software is many good things and a necessary way forward. It means sovereignty from uncertain bodies. It increases privacy by using systems that are open for audits from everyone around the world. It puts responsibility on real people. That is okay. So this sentence is actually so fucking false because the first thing you slap on every single piece of open source software is the software comes without warranty and blah blah blah. Whatever happens to you using it, you're on your own. Like every single piece of open source software has that in the license. So open source by itself doesn't put responsibility on any responsibility on anybody. Anyway, situations when someone is stuck with a faulty code are much more rare, given that anyone can fork the work and continue building it on its end. Like I cannot imagine being a politician. Like imagine that you're a politician and you're reading these replies and you're trying to understand this thing, right? Because your nephew explained to you kind of what open source is, but he's like 8 years old, didn't do a particularly good job. So you know that it is important. You have a vague understanding. You find it really confusing, the whole idea, like the whole business model around these things, and you're trying to come up with something useful, actually. And also, there's this one lobbyist from Apple that has these very strong ideas on things, and you're kind of vaguely suspecting that the guy is trying to fuck you, but you can't say for sure because that's not something that you know too much about. And then you're reading these comments, right? And one guy is talking about forking source code. Another guy is talking about the fact that he wants to be able to play with the Nokia Engage again. It's like nothing makes sense. Nothing makes fucking sense. Oh my god. Why I strongly support open source software. 1. Saves license costs. 2. Helps to comply with data protection rules. 3. Enables independence from United States affiliates and political interference. 4. Allows the software to continue to operate on its own infrastructure even if there are internet disruptions. 5. Ecological. 6. Open documentation or exchange in fora. Holy shit, in fora. That's that's like plural for forums. For forum. Can help solve problems themselves. Okay. There is no one good reply. Holy shit. Wait. Italy and Italy. Okay. I think it's time for some Italian replies. Ah. Can I ask? Well, but you already asked. You should have asked if you could ask first. But okay, since you have already asked, yes, you can ask. I'm joking, by the way. Do you know when the next version of Zig is expected to be released? Probably a couple of months. It's being so the next version of Zig, yeah, I would say probably a couple of months, because, or you know what, maybe even less than that. Here's what I can tell you. I think that 0.16 will use LLVM version 21, but I know that LLVM version 22 has just been released or is about to be released. So I think that it's going to be 0.16 will still use LLVM 21, and then there's going to be another release probably soon-ish after for LLVM version 22, and that new Zig release will probably not have much in it. It will just be an upgrade to new LLVM, I think. In any case, a little bit more time, but it's coming. Okay. Stefano Costa. Let's go, man. Let's go. First of all, I wish to thank the Directorate General for Digital Service for the opportunity to comment towards European Open Digital Ecosystems Initiative. I'm starting to smell LLM. My comments are only personal, even if there is a significant overlap with Free Software Foundation Europe initiatives. I don't represent here FSFE, but only my personal views. The EU in the digital domain relies on non-EU resources at all levels, from the operating system that makes the computer usable for any given application to program libraries that makes life easier to developers, including tools needed to use software that can be used remotely on cloud as software as a service. Depending on external resources is not bad per se. The not invented here syndrome is also a bad thing. No one in an interconnected world can work or live successfully in autarky. However, the current state of affairs is not good either. We are overly dependent on non-EU resources. EU needs a common strategy in the digital domain. Yeah, no, it's not LLM. So far, the focus was on the normative framework, which was absolutely necessary, but didn't cover directly the root problem. EU sovereignty cannot be enforced on programs, resources, and tools handled by someone else. A practical example is the case raised by Norway and Denmark authorities over Chinese-made electric buses company Yutong. In addition to the physical buses, Yutong sells a SaaS component that monitors and diagnoses buses. From this service, You can locate and monitor buses' health and also kill switch the entire fleet, i.e., power off all buses at once. The SAS component complies to all your rules. Still, Yutong Company HQ in China can control everything. Okay. What we're reading, Matt, don't worry. That's nothing that you care about. This is European stuff. You wouldn't understand. We're reading replies to the European request for feedback thing. I know that Matt has seen it already, so that's why I'm not getting too much into details. But yeah, I'm reading these things. There is not a single good reply. When you countries combine to be stupid together, yes. You will reply? I think so. I think so. If an EU citizen can add a patch to a EU public repository, you are enabling bottom-up citizenship. Private sector number one priority is efficiency. Stefano. So I think that, okay, this whole thing, I think that the bus thing is a reasonable point. I think the best thing is saying, well, you look, we have some rules about software here in Europe, but you know, every time you're using a SaaS, everything something has a SaaS component. The SaaS component, if it's hosted elsewhere, it's not going to be subject to your rules. So, for example, if you have rules about whether I don't know whether the geolocation of a bus of all buses in a given city should be freely viewable on the internet or not. Let's say that you decide not, then turns out maybe that the Chinese company didn't properly secure this information, and so effectively it is available on the internet. And you're what are you gonna do about it then? I guess you can find them, but if it was a European company, then you can you can squish them much harder, for sure. If you cannot control it, you don't really own it. Yeah. In the Yutong case, the control is not only in the client hands, but also the seller ones. Some form of control in any long-term maintenance contract is fine. However, the aforementioned kill switch has little to do with any maintenance. If you can't inspect it, you can't check it if it really works or not. Software is often sold as a black box, closed solutions, POS, public administration, FSFE initiative, public money, question mark, public code, exclamation mark. Wait, what is going on? We're losing we're losing coherence. Anyway. French guy named Motel. As a citizen, it seems necessary and urgent for our institutions to equip themselves with the means to emancipate themselves from the US digital guardianship. Grok. Wait, how do we end up? You know what? We need a pure European solution for pumping out nudes out of non-nude photos. We cannot just rely on Grok to do it for us. We need properly EU certified fake nude pictures. One, support the public money, public code principle. It is imperative that any software developed with European public funds must be published under an open source license. Holy shit. Okay. Wait a second. I wasn't ready for it, but this is actually usable, actionable political advice. Make it so that every time something uses European funds, they have to open source the thing that they're making. Okay. This ensures that taxpayers' investments benefit society as a whole, enable reuse by other administrations, and stimulate local innovation. So I'll tell you what the anonymous French guy. I'll tell you what the counterpoint to this thing here is. I know that in Italy we have, so in Italy there is this thing where every single region, like Italy is divided in regions. So we're talking about this stuff. Each region actually might even be smaller than just a region, but as first approximation, every region has its own um, like public health, medical stuff that is specific to that region. So, like for example, if I want to go and look at online records of, I don't know, like blood work that I did in the past, and I live in Lombardia, and so I have to go to a website specific to Lombardia where I will be able to find information about my blood work. If I move to Veneto, I will have to log into a different platform. And guess what? Guess what? It's gonna be a different piece of software. They don't use the same software. Why? I'm sure there's a long and complicated list of reasons why. Some of it has to do with the fact that not all regions are the same. They have slightly different regulations, uh, quirks of how things work in that region. But ultimately, it's just because of how money is distributed for this stuff. Like, I don't know all the details, but in general, every region has its own budget for all the medical stuff, and so they really don't have an incentive to all use the same thing. They don't want to. Each and every one of them wants to make their own thing. Some of it you could say because they just want to eat the money, maybe. Um, but some of it is even just because, the guy in charge of this decision making in Lombardia likes blue buttons, and the guy in charge of this decision making in Veneto really likes red buttons. And so, this guy will make all the software with blue buttons. This guy will want all the software with red buttons. And so they even just that is going to be enough for them to not want to do something standardized. So, what is my point? My point is that I'm not 100% sure, but I suspect that a good number of those are probably even already open source solutions. I suspect that at least some of them are available for free online. That is not going to make it any more easy, though, for different Italian regions to use the same software, because these motherfuckers, they just do not want to collaborate with one another. Why? Because the money flow doesn't force them to. So the only way for them to collaborate would be for the money flow to change shape and force them to have one solution that works for everybody. That being said, I'm sure that if that were to happen, there would be probably an avalanche of other secondary problems that come from that decision. Like you solve some of the redundancy that I just described, but you probably would have also other problems. So, long story short, ensuring that stuff is open source doesn't really make the public administration less of a dumb customer when it comes to software. Public administration is actually, in this case, I think it's not even exactly public administration. When I'm like the thing that I was talking about, this is not public administration. I think it's a slightly different thing. But the point is, none of these people, none of these decision makers will become any less dumb if you make the software open source. That being said, I don't think that this is a bad idea. I think this is fine. It's auctionable. I would actually enforce it if I were in that position, but it wouldn't fix anything. Financing development, maintenance, and security. The EU should not be a mere consumer of open source software, but an active contributor. Bro, I do not, and I repeat, I do not want like government employees sending PRs to my open source software as part of their actual work. Like if they want to do that in private, I don't know, fine, but come on. Well, actually, I mean, on paper it does, but I can promise you that there is no way to have Italian regions to all adopt the same software unless you force them to. You have to force them. Either you bind them legally, or you uh, take away their budget for making this stuff on their own. Essentially, forcing them to do the first thing. Like it is the only way. Otherwise, they will not do it. They just won't. And every single one of them will, remake the same mistakes, re-spend the money to re-implement, to reinvent the wheel a bajillion times, not any better than previous time, and they will just keep doing that. Okay, let's see. Support to SMEs, facilitate access to public procurement for smaller European open source companies. What the fuck is a small European open source company? So, a small European company that sells open source, that sells like services related to open source. Ooh. What even is that thing? Ensuring interoperability and portability to break the monopolies of hyperscalers, cloud giants. The strategy must impose open and documented standards for all cloud services, a ban on egress fees that prevent companies from migrating from a proprietary provider to an open European solution. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's time for some more Italian wisdom. As a European citizen, I'm happy with this consultation. I have always supported open source software because I find the ethical issue it addresses the basis for all other discussions that can be done. Using this one was not written in English. This one was written in Italian and then translated. Okay. Using open source software is a step towards reducing inequalities, starting with tools that we are using continuously today. As a developer who has been dependent on a company for 25 years, the use of open source products is the best way to learn and build the software tools needed for business. It's difficult to promote the use of open source software and platforms among acquaintances in the sector. An awareness campaign would help. Banning egress fees is not the worst idea. I mean, yeah, but also I feel like it's not really answering the question the European Union is asking us to answer. Man, these comments are a fucking disaster. Last but not least, wait, this is somebody like who said, you know what? One reply is not enough. I need to make a bunch. Last but not least, reconsider this topic capital. In my view, the decision should have been taken at least 10 years ago, but it's better than ever before. On the other hand, if you like, you are not focusing solely on AI, it's essential to secure the following areas: network hardware, socket software, socket software, competitor to Microsoft. What's socket software? I want to support open source. I'm a Linux user since 2000. I'm writing from my Ubuntu Linux workstation. I worked as an engineer and supported open source since the beginnings. Windows only as a VM coexists with Linux as a VirtualBox VM. Bye. Okay, thank you. uh, what the heck is going on? Um, there is more Italian replies. Wow, I can't wait to read them. Uh, I think it's necessary to remove all traces of proprietary software from all parts of the European public administration. Alternatives exist and are feasible. Okay. I'm the manager of a SRLS company. I think this is like sole proprietorship. Operating in the digital sector, I'm entirely in favor of this initiative, even slightly late. In just a few years, the big US are choking us and must end this monopoly. Okay. Very much in favor of this initiative. I feel like these tiny replies as a citizen, I'm in favor, blah blah blah. These do sound like fucking AI. Uh, I'm a system maker and developer with more than 30 years of experience. Open source products not only ensure safety by viewing their code, but also ensure investment in professional skills. I personally think that a country should only use free and open products in all its critical infrastructure. But less AI than expected, yeah. Unfortunately, it's less AI than expected, but same level of quality that I expected, which in a way it's even worse. We have AI quality, AI level quality without even the AI. What a fucking mess. Does the European gerontocracy? What is gerontocracy? What's gero? Governed by old people. I see. Okay. I see. It's like geriatrocracy, as in geriatric. That's probably the actual same word. To me, it looks like software developers are seen as expensive plumbers who are now kindly asked to replace some pipes because the EU has a disagreement with the utilities company, Trump. If individual EU states had paid attention to the plumbing from the beginning, there would be no need for new sovereignty doctrine because these pipes would already be there. Okay. Tobias Fleet. As a European tech entrepreneur, I strongly advise on supporting European open source software engineering. Basically, all technology today is built on a basis of open source components, and we need to ensure this larger ecosystem is well maintained and flourishing in order to enable digital independence and eventually leadership. Dear team, we're highlighting some topics attached report related to the open source consultation. We believe we have to take into account that the artificial intelligence disruption accelerate the opportunity to Europe, as most code will partially or fully written by AI. Benoit, come on, man. We also consider that many software stacks will be used by AI agents. Europe has to transform its historical issues like fragmentation in an opportunity for its open source strategy. All local, national, and European institutions should use the same interface. Bro, this doesn't even work at a single country level. APIs, protocols. Why? Like, oh, but also why? For all filings, tax like, I mean, okay, so like impossible, but I get it. If we had like a one homogeneous way of filing taxes in all of Europe, it wouldn't be bad. Although I think we already have a lot of that going on. I think that like electronic invoicing, like VAT IDs are standardized. Actually, electronic invoicing, I'm not so sure, but I don't know. Dario Rossi, let's go. Dario, please don't let me down. Use of open source software within regulatory framework that prioritizes the individual over profit is not only commendable but absolutely worth promoting. Over the years, Europe has chosen to delegate hardware and software development to third parties, and today, in this field and in many others, we risk facing disastrous consequences. It is essential to become as independent as possible from the major players in the sector. Okay, like none of them is saying anything usable, anything useful. The same applies to mainstream applications, both in the domestic, corporate, blah blah blah. No one reads the terms and conditions. Okay, few use strong passwords, and even fewer adjust settings on accounts created across various platforms. Okay. Based on my experiences within the IT community, I believe open source digital technology, including more specific licensing subgenres such as copyleft software, is a highly useful tool for establishing successful software enterprises. Studio D&D. Symphony. Wait, what? Wait, we have the best engineers. We have the best engineers in Europe in the world, which have led to two huge techno-industrial revolutions in the past 40 years: the web and generative artificial intelligence. However, most of these talented engineers do not pursue their careers in Europe as they do not find structures that match their talented ambitions. It is high time, at a time when technical dependence on the USA is finally becoming apparent to decision makers, to take the appropriate measures very quickly to retain those talents of the future in order to provide them with the friend. What does this have to do with open source? God damn it, man. For the development of websites and web applications, Symfony, an ultra popular framework created 20 years ago by a French and always maintained by the same person. A reference solution, of which a wealth of solutions, even American and Chinese, have been built. For e-commerce, Cilius. For emails, ProtonMail or Tuda. For cloud hosting, OVH. Scaleway. Clever Cloud. The latter are French, and Clever Cloud has perfect command of its entire technical value chain. Okay, I feel like I'm almost at the end. uh, The European Commission's decision to launch a public consultation on an EU-wide open source digital ecosystem strategy is a highly valuable and timely initiative. Open source software forms the backbone of today's digital economy, yet Europe has long lacked a coordinated approach capable of fully capturing the value by its vibrant communities, researchers, and companies. This consultation represents an important step towards strengthening Europe's technological sovereignty and reducing structural dependence on non-EU technologies. Okay, so this is like your vomiting back the same thing that the original text was saying. The commissions focus on critical domains such as cloud and edge computing, AI, cybersecurity, and open hardware is particularly welcome. These are areas where Europe must reinforce resilience, competitiveness, and long term security by inviting contributions from developers, industry, public administrations, research institutions, the Commission. Like, do these people really live like this? Do they exist? Like, are these people running around out there consuming resources, breathing my air, and then spewing this as the output? Like, what the fuck? I'm done. I'm done reading these things. Like, I don't envy who will have to truly read them all. It's so much garbage. So much garbage, man. You know what? I wish we've seen plenty of those that are most likely not AI. They're just shit. They're like like even the ones that are clearly not AI. None of them actually answers the questions. Like there's these questions from the European Union that are like I think are actually decent questions. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the EU open source sector? What are the main barriers that hamper adoption and maintenance of high quality and secure open source? Sustainable contributions to open source communities. What is the added value of open source? What concrete measures and actions can be taken at EU level to support the development and growth of the EU open source sector? What technology areas should be prioritized and why? What sectors could use an increased use of open source lead to increased competitiveness and cyber resilience? None of these answers, like I would not give, if this was like an essay, like in school, none of what I read would get a passing grade. Not every single one of them, any single one of them. Can we feed the thing to an LLM and ask its opinion? Yeah, at this point we might as well, right? It's like this gives a new aftertaste, a new flavor to garbage in, garbage out, in a sense. Sorry, one sec. I have to reply to some messages. Okay. Oof. Writing well is a lost art. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to put a lot of effort, but also I feel like there's a very widespread complete disconnection from reality. Like you could definitely put it entirely under the hat of writing well, but I feel like I feel like you could achieve something better even if you didn't know how to write well. Like you could like they're not answering these fucking questions. They don't understand what is the problem at hand. They don't understand who will be reading the reply. They don't understand what it is that this person can and cannot do. Not that I know, precisely what it is that uh uh clerk reading those replies will be able to do or not. But like some of these replies are completely all over the place. They definitely do not have any clue, like not even remotely, about what it is that they're who they're replying to. Yeah, they replied without reading the assignment. Kind of. Jesus. Whew, what an adventure. So, okay, so what would a good reply look like? You know what? After I spend all this time criticizing people, maybe it's time I try my hand, right? So that others can criticize me at this point. Hmm. Okay, so if I were to ask, if what is it that I would like to tell you politicians about this? Hello. So my experience is mainly when it comes to open source, it's mainly with the Zig project. One thing that I know, and this is what I was mentioning earlier, because I think I don't remember who it was, maybe Crypto Code, but somebody made, in my opinion, a good comment right away, which is um, uh, it would be impossible for me to make a European Zig Software Foundation. In Italy, we certainly do not have the company model, non-profit company model that would allow me to do that. European Union citizens wouldn't be able to donate to me with the same and getting while getting the same perks as American citizens can get when donating to American nonprofits. Specifically, they can um, they can get fuck. I keep forgetting what's the right expression, but they can get a tax discount on their donation. Basically, um, here you can't. I can get a tax discount for Italian nonprofits, but I cannot do that for other European nonprofits. And I'm imagining the same. This works both ways, or rather, this doesn't work either way. So, so that is a problem. So, like, if you want, would you like to have a European-born Zig Software Foundation? I think it would be nice if we had. It doesn't have to be necessarily Zig, right? It would be something like the Zig Software Foundation, but maybe for something else. For example, let's say that I want to make the Discord alternative a non-profit organization that starts getting its own donation, its own money, pays its own developers, and makes an open source Discord alternative, which actually would be something useful. Even like if we were to develop it for real, like and make it a full solution, it would be something that even at EU level, like politicians level, could be eventually potentially be interesting. But how do I do that? I can't. I just straight up cannot create a legal entity that can accept those donations the same way that Americans can. So, um, what license is the Zig Software Foundation releasing Zig under now? MIT. Try to get a few of these responses in front of Meloni. So, Um, so that would be my first comment. My first comment is I'm part of a successful open source organization that is American. And as far as I know, it is impossible to replicate the same model here because we are missing the legal infrastructure. You can still accept donations from EU citizens for Zig, but they're not tax advantaged. Well, yes, the Zig Software Foundation can accept donations from EU citizens and everywhere in the world. Yes, but if you're American, you can take that receipt. Like if you're an American company, you can take, or like an individual, you can take the receipt and get a tax discount. If you're a European citizen, I don't think you can do that. I cannot speak for everybody. I don't know by heart, the financial uh, codes of every single European state, but you can't. If you're paying U.S. tax, then the donation is tax deductible. You mean you're a EU citizen that also has an American citizenship? Uh, sure, but then you're also an American citizen. So, I mean, yeah. Can you get EU funding? It depends. We've never been able to, but if the tender doesn't specify that it has to be an that you have to be part of a like the organization has to be European, then sure you can get EU funding. Again, we specifically have never gotten any funding that way, European funding, but plenty of other things have. There's plenty of EU funds that just fund open source projects in general, and they will. And most open source projects, successful ones, are American, and they will happily support those projects, and that's it. Are non-profit tax deductions in US only available for US citizens? Mm, well, yes. If you're not a US citizen, the US doesn't charge you taxes, hopefully. So whatever it is that they use to calculate taxes doesn't apply to you. If you're a French citizen, you pay taxes to France. And so it's how the French government, if you work in the US. Yeah, but even then, this is like, this is just a handful of people. Yeah, sure. But I mean, none of this is important. Sorry, none of this is important or relevant, like to regards to this, because this is about um, making open source projects centered in the European Union more successful. And that has to deal primarily with European citizens, both on the side of who is creating the organization and who's sustaining it. My assumption is that what should sustain open source organizations is should be individuals, European individuals. And I mean, it doesn't have to be European individuals, to be fair. It could be also non European individuals. But at the same time, uh, given everything, given the context, I don't think we can expect the European Union to pull off the fact that like an American citizen donating to a European nonprofit organization gets tax reduction because of it. Like the whole reason why we're here is because a bunch of relationships are breaking apart. So that's not going to happen. So basically, in the context of this thing, what you would want to achieve is removing friction, like allow non-profit organizations to uh, spawn in Europe and allow European citizens to support those organizations. I'm just thinking of all the excellent engineers who are in the US that would move back to the EU if they would make money there. Yeah, sure, but this is not going to change it. It's not something that the EU can do anything about it. Or rather, you know what? Maybe if this would become more realistic if they were able to create non-profit organizations in Europe. I don't think it would really make much of a difference. But this seems the only vaguely realistic thing that you can point out to this commission. That would be the main thing that we're missing. So in my opinion, like I know that the Zig Software Foundation, the model that the Zig Software Foundation uses for sustaining the development of Zig is a successful one, and I also know that it is impossible to replicate in Europe. So my first suggestion would be, so the first thing that I would say is, look, I'm part of this reality which works, it's successful, and it is impossible to make in Europe. Please make it so that it becomes possible to replicate in Europe. Then, what is the added value of open source so for the public and private sectors? Please provide concrete examples, including the factors such as cost, risk, lock-in, security, innovation, among others, that are most important to assess the added value. This is a question that I would deliberately not want to answer because I think they can find the answer to this question on their own. They don't need a request for feedback to hint at this. Also, no answer will give you a full 360-degree picture. Like, I feel like this is a bad question. They should not be asking this question. What concrete measures and actions may be taken at the EU level to support the development and growth of open source, blah, blah, blah. So this is what I would say. Yeah, so I would still, I think this is still related to the ability to create something like a ZSF in Europe. What technology areas should be prioritized and why? That is a good question. From my perspective, I think that I know that there's a lot of manufacturing that is in real bad shape when it comes to software. I know some people that work at German car companies, and they only have software horror stories that very often relate to vendors giving them closed source software that is impossible to maintain because they only get a DLL, that they have to use like an old version of Windows to keep running. Like they have to have the one machine that runs still Windows 95, because if you try to update it, then the software is not going to work anymore. And the company that made the software has failed ages ago, and so but now a bajillion things depend on it, and so it was never replaced. And this, I think, also relates to the final question, like what sectors could use an increased use of open source software? I would say manufacturing, automotive, at the very least. It is also true that there's obviously an infinite amount of web services that run in American clouds, and that like a giant mass, and they represent a huge amount of money. But I don't know, like you take a crappy bank's C#.net web of services, spaghetti ball of services, And it's like, what do you do with it? Like, you move it to a European cloud. What do you achieve exactly? Um, you take it off of Windows and you move it on Linux. What have you achieved? Eh. I feel like that while these things are huge and the type of thing that people think about the most, I don't think that open source directly would make that those things should be prioritized, and that somehow increasing use of open source in those contexts would make things particularly better. I feel like that embedded and automotive would be um, a much bigger low hanging fruit. So I think that would be my reply. We still have COBOL bases in the US for flight bookings. Well, we have COBOL in Italy for a bunch of banks and financial intermediaries. I think we also have COBOL. Well, no, at the very least for that, banks, financial intermediaries, a good chunk of those still have COBOL code bases. But the problem is that those COBOL things, the reason why they are still COBOL today is because people don't know how to upgrade them. The people that knew what the system, like, the full spec of the system are like long dead. And so all the people that remain are people that barely know how to use these systems. So that's why nobody wants to tackle breaking the whole, invoice processing system. Well, not invoice, but like the whole money processing system, because they're scared. The thing works, and it's like, it's a sensitive part of the business. You break that thing and then money stops coming in, and then the whole thing breaks if you don't know how to fix it fast enough, and they just don't have any confidence in their ability to do that. So open source wouldn't really do anything. Or, I mean, open source already exists in that sense. I feel like the car companies are really the one of the car companies, and similar companies are, in my opinion, the most realistic example. Sorry, I lost this whole exchange. When we the Ayuring update branch after reaching 100% will get complete over 3 hours. The main branch builds fairly quickly. Any help on this, please? Wait, what is Ayuring update the as the compiler branch? You don't do I rewrite to a new language when it works and is stable. Yeah, but the problem with the COBOL code base is that it's not even just the software. They like COBOL, those COBOL code bases run on old mainframes. Like they all have their own what would you call them? Deals with the devil. So like I think that those companies, if they could get away from COBOL in a non-risky manner, they would 100% want to do it. It's just that they perceive touching that stuff um as an existential risk. So they don't want to attempt it. What a disaster. What a disaster. So what would my reply look like? Let's try writing one. Let's copy over the questions. Hmm. So what would I write? Also, how do you log into this thing? Statistics. Hmm. Should I reply as an NGO? Most replies are between 30 and 65, 15, 29. More than 65, prefer not to answer. Less than 15. 100 replies from France, 84 from Italy, 66 from Germany. Interesting. Wait, why are people from Canada replying? You guys can't. That's not allowed. Australia? No, this guy's got it wrong. It's Austria. You can't reply from Australia. More replies from the UK than from Finland or Sweden. Oh man, guys. Canada is French. Ah, you think there's some Quebecois that are like they feel European? Mm, mm, mm. Okay, what are the feedback rules? Oh, okay, well, give feedback. How do you give feedback? Enter email address or unique identifier or EU login. One account, many EU services. Oof. Okay, I'll worry about that later. So I would say I'm VP of community at Zig Software Foundation, an American non-profit foundation, 501c3, dedicated to uh, developing the Zig programming language, a open source, well, developing Zig, an open source programming language. Um, ZSF from now on. ZSF leaves uh, entirely off. Is it off? Is it on donations? Also, I should say that I'm a European citizen. Well, I guess once I submit the reply for real, I'll figure out. I guess they ask you, so there's a separate field where you put your identity, so it doesn't require me to specify it in here. But the SFL is entirely off of nations. Uh, and has been operating for about, what is it, 7 years now? 8 years? 8 years now. Um, oh, yeah, thank you. As far as programming, um, years now, I would say this, and we're starting to see mainstream adoption of the language by tech companies all over the world, from all over the world, period. Um, yeah, but how? How do I move it to the EU? I mean, we probably don't want to do that, but even if we were, how do you move the Zigzag Foundation to the EU? Because that is the problem. I don't think there is a way for us to do that. So even if we wanted to, in my experience, just make another entity. Which entity? In Italy, there is no way for me to make a non-profit foundation for developing Zig. It is impossible. There is just no company to do, no way to do that. In my experience, the funding model we're adopting, I should probably link also to financials. I'm gonna put a space because I don't trust their shitty software to not put these parentheses in the link. Replicate it in, and I don't believe it would be possible for me to create a tax exempt uh, foundation comparable to a American 501c3. Likewise, I also believe, um, likewise, US citizens can deduct uh, donations to ZSF and other 501c3 nonprofits, while in EU, as far as I'm aware, taxpayers. Yeah, thank you. As far as I'm aware, um, uh, tax incentives, tax deducibility, I guess, deducibility of donations to non-profit to nonprofits can only happen within the same nation, within the same country. So I can only deduct. So I am Italian citizen. Non-profits. The video generated by by big open source projects is, I don't know, gigantic. It's hard to estimate. Uh, I don't even know how to phrase this. I'm starting to think that I want to cut entirely the part about value. I just want to say I just want to leave that implicit. Well, I work full time for DSF, and without a proper non-profit business model, it would be it would have been impossible to okay, so I think what I want to say is that as an open source project, like when an open source project is serious enough, it needs to have money, and if it doesn't have a way of getting money, then it becomes impossible for it to make progress as much as it should, even though people would like for it to make progress. And that's effectively what you're seeing with Zig. Zig is able to make progress thanks to donations. The donations are something that shows that the public wants Zig to exist, and then their will can turn into donations, which then we can use, and then we can make the thing that they want we make. So the fact that ZSF can pay developers to work full time on the open source project shows that um, the general pop the well that the tech industry is interested in um, this particular open source solution to the point of being willing to pay for uh, its development. Without funding, it would be impossible for ZSF to, well, I would say without access to uh, to donations, it would be impossible for ZSF to um, to have, make the project successful, to keep the project alive, to make progress this fast. Um, you could also sell merch. Yeah. Continuous operations. Well, you know what? Let me change this. Let's change the direction to pay for its development. Um, maybe I will try to answer the value question. To the point where we receive donations from both individuals and uh, well established tech companies. No. Flow. No. 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 If this had been Rust software, it would have never happened, man. No, that's not true, actually. Helix would crash a lot. Mm. Oh, should have had a typer there, I guess. Wait, how long is this fucking timer? Am I recording? Oh shit, I'm recording. I had the thing set up to record even. Oh my god. Please, man. And now this thing is black. Why is software like this? Wait, am I looking? I feel oh no, we're looking at a we're starting to do Inception now. I think it's gonna be fine. Anyway, okay, screenshot, but now I'm gonna look what I'm doing. Capture selected portion. Capture. Okay. Um. Okay. Let's see. I'm a PF community at the Zig Software Foundation, ZSF from now on, an American nonprofit foundation, 501c3 dedicated to developing Zig, an open source programming language. ZSF lives entirely off donations, see 2025 financials, and has been operating for about 8 years now. Comma, has been operating for about 8 years now, and we are starting to see mainstream adoption of the language by tech companies all over the world. In my experience, the funding model we adopted is extremely effective for open source, for big enough open source projects. I would say maybe well, we can leave it at that. But it doesn't seem to be possible to replicate in EU. More specifically, I'm an Italian citizen, and I don't believe it would be possible for me to create a tax-exempt foundation comparable to an American 501c3. Likewise, U.S. taxpayers can direct donations to ZSF and other 501c3 nonprofits, while in EU, I can remove this comma, while in EU, as far as I'm aware, tax deducibility of donations to nonprofits can only happen within the same country. So an Italian citizen can only direct donations to Italian nonprofits. The fact that the DSF can pay developers to work full time on its open source project shows that tech industry is interested in this particular open source solution to the point of being willing to pay for its development. This is testament to the value that the public gives to open attributes. Such as Zig. As stated above, unfortunately, it doesn't seem possible for EU citizens to capture that interest in the same way that American companies can under tax code 501c3. So what were the other questions? So I feel like I answered this one. Well, I didn't fully answer this one the way they wanted me to, but I don't care. What concrete measures of actions? Technology error should be prioritized and why? Okay. In my opinion, for the EU to start seeing in my opinion, for the EU to start seeing an increase of European open source activity, the first step needs to be to allow EU in citizens to create a proper financial infrastructure. Well, what a shitty sentence. I think we can do better. EU likes words like sustainable. Maybe you can write that without ZSF donations. ZSF wouldn't be sustainable. Yeah, you're right. I just moved to the EU Netherlands from New York, and I might move back. Jeff, wait, there's an unhappy face. Are you unhappy because you don't want to move back and you might have to move back? Or are you unhappy because you were hoping to have a good time in Europe and you ended up not having a good time in your well in the Netherlands specifically? You were hoping to find a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man also in Amsterdam, but turns out that there was none. I was in New York for 14 years. I'm enjoying it here. Okay, so so you don't want to move back, but you might have to move back. I'm sorry. Find remote work, man. That's that's the only thing I can suggest. I'm by the way, I know that I'm saying stupid stuff. I'm sure that your situation is more complicated than whatever stupid joke I can make. But yeah, if you can figure out remote work, then life's good. There isn't much tech opportunity as I hoped. Um, yeah. Okay, but wait, you mean that there wasn't much tech opportunity in Europe as you hoped? That tracks. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Um, but you can still work for an American company. My personally, what I believe is that the best of both worlds is living in Europe and working for an American company, because quality of life, in my opinion, in Europe tends to be better, and well, money in the US tends to be better. Although I would say personally, even more importantly, Europeans are not great at business. Italians are a walking disaster. Like, if you have an Italian manager, chances are that you're fucked. Or the Italian businessman, that I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what the problem is, but culturally we suck at this. I suspect that the same applies also to the rest of Europe in different ways, each one with their own quirks and problems. And this is not to say that Americans are perfect at business, obviously. Definitely not the case. But I don't see myself working for an Italian company unless I really have to. I think I will probably try to stick with American companies in the future. The day that Zig is done and I have to do something else. Um, anyway, oh yeah, there's jet brains in Amsterdam. That is true. In my opinion, first and foremost, there must be a straightforward way for EU citizens to set up non-profit foundations, non-profit, comma, tax exempt foundations that can receive, well, not that. Uh, Set up non-profit tax exempt foundations for the to host secondarily EU citizens should be able to donate Tax exempt will make their eyes bleed. Secondarily, citizens should be able to donate um, to these foundations and get tax benefits, similarly to how American taxpayers can get benefits when donating to American non-profits, regardless of the, well, you know what? The problem is that this is obviously not something that you can do easily. That's not how it works, right? Like I'll go and leave it at that anyway. I would like to see more first class support for Rule Zig. Well, but Rule Zig is maintained by Uber. We don't use Bazel in Zig. I'm sorry, we don't even like Bazel. I don't like Bazel. It's not like I hate it, but it's not a build system we really care about. I get it that giant super turbo big tech companies uh love Bazel, but ZML uses it. I know. How is Flow compared to Helix and Neovim? Well, I'm using Flow with Helix keybinds, but there's also a Vim mode and there's also a non-model editing mode. So when you get Flow by default, it works kind of like VS Code or Sublime, so you don't have any model editing. But then you can enable model editing, and then you can choose also which flavor you want. You can also personalize these things a bunch. The Vim and Helix, let's say, emulation layers are not 100% there. So if you're a Helix user, you will find that there are some Helix commands that are not implemented yet. Same probably with NeoVim, well, Vim in general. But these are all things that Flow is pretty new, so these are all things that I would expect will be implemented in the future. And other than that, it's a good editor. It works. It also has some things that these editors don't have. Let me save my file. But let me show you this crazy idea. So check this out. I have my cursor here between A and RF, and I'm gonna scroll up and look. I'm not dragging my cursor up. I go down and the cursor is still back where I left it. Like I can also add some more lines below so that you can see that the cursor stays where you leave it. Also, check this out. I'm up here. I pressed I to go into insert mode, and now I'm going to type. And I'm typing where I left the cursor. I can also leave it already in insert mode. I scroll up, and then I type, and it goes down here automatically. Go do that in Helix or Vim. See what happens. Colimac, yes. So in terms of industries that would benefit the most from increased usage of open source software, I think that um, I think that the automotive sector is the one that would benefit the most, um, based on benefit the most, while all the talk as of late is about cloud and AI. Those um, those sectors already have a healthy amount of open source activity happening, and I don't see how uh, I don't see how. Well, I don't know. You know what? Let's remove this aside. That will benefit the most. I know of plenty of horror stories where car manufacturers are are effectively held hostage by closed door software, often not even because of um by I know of plenty of horror stories where car manufacturers are effectively held hostage by closed source software, sold to them by vendors that went out of business, resulting in uh, I would say often leaving them with unmaintainable software. Well, I don't know. I should probably say something to explain why I'm focusing on this over than AI. Um, but the full argument is complicated. If all software was required to be interoperable, then business, but that software is interoperable. Oftentimes, the software that these companies make are like DLLs, and they use the CABI. You can interoperate with them using the CABI. The problem is that you can't change the DLL because you don't have the source code. Um, Maybe the DLL uses some system. Depends on things in the system. So maybe depends on something specific to an old version of Windows that doesn't even exist anymore in new versions of Windows, and so you get locked into the old version of Windows, and so some of these companies have like these old computers that still run Windows 98, for example, Windows NT, and they can't update because Windows NT is the only thing that can run that software. So it's not like the software is locking them in artificially. It's just an artifact of its time that becomes unmaintainable once the company goes out of business. So it's not just interop. It's I think you need the guarantees of open source for it to stay useful over time. Without the full set of guarantees that open source gives you, um, I don't think there's a way forward. Well, I think that's what I would type out. Okay, let me log in. I'll try to log in and see what happens. See if we can post. I'm gonna post my own crap. Everybody posted their crap. I'm gonna post my own crap. We are securing your request. This can take up to 60 seconds. What the fuck? I press submit. It was actually not asking me anything serious, just like name and email. We are securing your request. What? What? Like, why? Why are they like this? Your password. Oh, they've emailed me my password. New password. Okay. Proceed. Login. Okay. Give me a sec. No trusted platform or security key found. The way this website works is amazing. Truly amazing. A work of art, I would say. Um, proud to be European. Okay, can I leave okay, can I leave my feedback? Okay, we're going back to the original page. It's not loading anymore. Commission seeks input for venture and growth capital funds reform. Oh yeah, we please more VCs. We need more VCs. So so where the fuck am I supposed to go now? Oh, now it is loading. Give feedback. There we go. We did it. I'm gonna put myself as an NGO. I actually don't know what to say. Company business. I'm gonna say NGO. I don't know. I'm getting paid by government. Alcaraz, what do you mean? NGO stands for non-governmental organization. It's like NGOs are literally the one thing that is not paid by the government. Okay, so I cannot put NGO because they only like their own thing. Um, you citizen, company business. I'm gonna leave this empty. I really don't know what to put myself as because I mean I'm writing as an EU citizen, but I'm not just writing this as a random EU citizen. I'm writing this as a representative of an organization. Although I'm not exactly speaking for the organization specifically because the GSF is American, so uh, fuck it, I'll leave it as is. Other. Hmm. Well, okay. I put my crap on, so I did my job. Uh, what an adventure. Really, what an adventure. So, howdy, Flash. What are we working on? Uh, Feedback to the European Commission on the European Open Digital Ecosystems Initiative. Um, yeah. So, well, we're doing European stuff, but useless, mostly useless European stuff. Um, Other than that, I don't know. We're working on a open source Discord alternative. Although, you know what? We're not going to be able to make an organization like a company for our open source Discord alternative. If people keep posting stupid shit to this thing. Hmm. So what else can we do now? I don't know. We can read Hacker News, maybe, or we can take a look at some other issues to fill out for people. So I have all these issues here that I made. I don't know what else to put there. I mean, obviously there needs to be more, but I don't know what is ready. Let's look at flow crashes. Well, I was able to only get one earlier. Pretty gnarly though as a crash. Yeah, I didn't save and I got. How prepared are you for the evening? Good question, there, Toyfell. I actually am prepared. I have my talk. I have my talk ready. It's not a real talk. It's like 5 slides maybe. But in any case, whatever the thing needs to be, uh, it's there. Um, I haven't rehearsed. I have not rehearsed showing the source code to people. By the way, you're here now. So are you gonna be there later today? Because I think you were the ones that you were one of the people that said that they were not going to be able to make it. Will it be mostly your talk or a discussion? I think it will be my presentation, which is going to be very short, and then a bunch of discussion, and then I'll talk about the new name. Um, oh, you mean if you want to talk as well? Oh, you will be. Okay, awesome. So that means that in the end, only Matt Knight was not able to come. Cool. Well, I will tell you this: in case you had not been able to come, we would have been able. I would definitely make sure to uh, show you the same stuff another day, which is what I will do with Matt Knight. But in any case, happy that you can come then. So no, it will be my short talk, and then it's gonna be discussion. I think a bunch. Hopefully, not too much. And then there's gonna be a source code overview for people who have never seen the source code, so that they get an idea of how it's structured. That's gonna be it. Yeah. Okay. I got an email from the European Commission congratulating with congratulations for submitting. Hey Stevie, is this what I think it is? You're right. Yes. Uh, Act as if you haven't seen the repo name, because I'll announce exactly what the name, like the reason for the names, etc. Later today. But this is it. Yeah, this has been, look. This has been me doing trying to do a good job at uh, finding things that people can work on and make reasonable progress, and not step on each other's toes, or like doing things um in a way, and then it turns out that we actually wanted things to be different. So these are like the good issues that people can work on. So if you If you see something that piques your interest, this is all I have for now. Sorry. This is all I have. That's it. And also we have our first milestone. Also, the first milestone is do the work to implement enough things so we can have the so that we can have meetings on the thing itself. Because it's kind of sad if you think about it, having meetings in like Google Meet. So yeah. Anyway, also, in case anybody here is interested, and I haven't told you so already, I told this to a bunch of people, but I don't know how many. Um, so there's a Zig Day in Nuremberg that has been scheduled for the 7th of February. I will be there as well. So if you're not too far, if you miss, especially if you missed out on the first one, do come. It's a pretty good Zig Day. It's a nice location. Uh, there's a lot of Spezi, and or at least there was the last time. And yeah, it's a Zig Day that I truly enjoy, so I recommend you check it out. I don't know if I will be able to come to the one after, but I wanted to come at least also to the second one. Do you have an issue tracking Windows support? For casual 7 hours drive again? Wait, you went there and you drove for 7 hours? Sorry, maybe you told me as well and I forgot, but like, where did you drive from if you did? There were some people coming from a bit further out, but it wasn't anything crazy, I think. Oh, I got like the 70 emote. Oh, sorry, I don't have those. So, okay. Well, no, in my case, I'm going to take a plane. My recommendation is, unless you live fairly close, don't take the train though to get there, because Deutsche Bahn apparently doesn't have particularly good stats, a pretty good record. Do you have an issue tracking Windows support? So tracking Windows support for what specifically? The client and so the server starts on Windows. The client should start, or if it doesn't, I think it might have regressed slightly, but it's just because Zigwin 32 has regressed. Oh, sorry, hasn't been updated to Zig 016. But that's it. The audio stuff is in a more complicated situation. So the DOS specific stuff that really is sensitive is audio backends. We have all the Wasapi code from Johnny Marler, and I haven't tested this myself recently, but last I checked, it was working. So Wasapi stuff should be fine on Windows, as far as I know. Um, and that's kind of it. Like that's mostly it. There's nothing else on that, you know, needs to have Windows specific support that we have at all. Like, for example, screen share obviously will need to have Windows specific support, but also we don't have anything related to screen share implemented. So yeah, but for now, I have not tagged any of these things with any platform specific stuff. Um, how is the name pronounced? Oh man, you're asking that question, huh? Since I've done it already, I'll show you. It's kind of a spoiler, but that's fine. Is Pipewire not cross-platform? Mm, it's cross Linux. I don't think the Pipewire works on macOS. I might be wrong. I don't think that it works on Windows. Again, I might be wrong, but yeah, okay. Yeah, Linux. Yeah, no, Linux. Okay. So how do you pronounce that name? I'll show you how you pronounce that name. That's how you pronounce it. um. So yeah, yeah, that bird has insane eyebrows. What is so funny about it is that it's not white in summer. It only becomes white in winter because obviously it's better camouflage. But then it keeps red eyebrows. Like, excuse me, nature, what the fuck are you doing? So there's this bird with red eyebrows going around making a weibo noises. It's so funny. Although I think these guys get hunted. You can eat them, and people in places like Alaska or probably also parts of Canada, um, they hunt these guys. They are I don't know how to pronounce them correctly in English. I think it's ptarmigan. It's spelled PT armigan. Um, so that's the kind of bird, and this is probably a specific subspecies of ptarmigan. I'm guessing there's a bunch of those. But these guys, these guys specifically, also get hunted for food. Anyway, uh, so yeah, this is the state of things. I don't have. I mean, I don't think this is a good time to start working on anything. But that was it. That was the European adventure. There was that was the thing that we did today, I guess. Let's see. I'll take a look at Windows stuff later. Then I work on Windows currently and would prefer to be able to use the thing. That makes total sense. So yeah, sorry, Dertoipel, to fully answer your question. I haven't made platform specific issues for now, and in the sense, all the issues that I'm making imply that that whatever the thing you're doing there should work on all platforms. This mostly applies to the audio video stuff because the rest is mostly like it's trivial. Like you just write it once and it will be multi-platform. But the audio video stuff, obviously, it's more nuanced. And what I think I will do is this: for the audio video stuff, I will probably what I will announce later today is that I will give ownership of that entire subsystem to Andrew, and I will leave it to Andrew to um, generate to write issues about specific things, like subtasks basically related to the audio subsystem. And I think at that point he will want to make OS specific issues, because there will be different implementations. So um, in here we have labels. I've made labels for Linux, macOS, and Windows. Um, and I think that at that point there will be more discussion about platform specific stuff. Mm. Anyway, yeah, I think this is it. So thank you all for hanging out. And for those who are helping out with the Discord alternative, I'll see you in a bit in Google Meet. By the way, if you have any problem, obviously ping me on Discord. I'll share the link with you if you lost it or something. So don't worry. In the meantime, let's see. Is anybody doing Zig? Any Zig? No Zig. There's Lucas Develops, who might be doing Zig, but did not put the Zig tag on. Huh? I'll send you all to Lucas Develops. Yeah. So enjoy, and see ya.